everyone. Welcome back to episode 6 of the Simply Whelmed podcast. I'm your host, Colin, and I'm joined here by my co-host, Chris.
How we doing, everybody?
We're just a couple of best friends who are passionate about all things pop culture. If you're looking for lukewarm takes on movies, video games, or TV shows, we've got just the show for you. And this week, we're actually going to try and do things a little bit differently. We're going to take a look at all the upcoming Sony Spider-Verse properties because we were just, inspired by Morbius. And, we just got to see what more we have in store.
Inspired.
Inspired. Maybe to commit violence, but beyond that, I don't know. No, but we're going to look at all the upcoming stuff that they've got both confirmed and not necessarily rumored, but whispered about, right? And then we're also going to try and take a swing at providing a spoiler-free review for the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. Now, when we went to see that, we had a little bit of a lead-in, didn't we?
No. Let me say my piece first, and then
No. Let me tell you my perspective.
Okay.
So we decided to switch things up. It wasn't showing at our normal theater that we go to, which was fine. It was a little bit further away, but not bad. It's a nice theater, whatever. And he was out and about, and I texted him the address, and he goes, "Oh, cool. I'm like 15 minutes from there." I'm like, "All right, word. I'm like 35, so I'll meet you there." All right, cool. So I head that way. I'm about 5-10 minutes out, and he texts me and says, "Hey, my phone's at 1%. I'm in the parking lot." I'm like, "All right, cool." I get there, and there's like 3 parking areas, and I'm like, "All right, word." And so I park right up next to the theater, and it's 9:15 showing, and I get there at like a couple minutes before 9. I'm like, "All right, sick." So I walk up to the door, and I'm like, because his phone's dead. I tried calling him, and it went straight to voicemail. And I'm like, "All right, well, I'll stand at the door because there's 3 giant parking areas, and I don't know which one he's in. So I'll wait for him to come to the door." And I went into the lobby to make sure I wasn't missing him in there. No, I come out, and I'm like, "All right, well, I'll stand here." And it gets to be about 9:15 when the showing starts, and I don't see him, and I'm getting pretty fucking steamed up. I'm like, "All right, what the hell is he thinking? Why would you not come to the door? What's the matter?" And then I'm like, he said he was in the parking lot, so I'm not worried about his safety, right? But I was worried about, damn, did he go to the wrong theater? What's going on, So I go walking around my happy ass all around the parking lots. I can't find him. And I'm like, my God, this is absolutely ridiculous. And I walk back to the front, and I'm like, why would you not come to the doors? The showing started 10 minutes ago, And I'm like, and I call my wife, and I'm like, "You're not going to fucking believe this, And she's like, "I don't know." And I was getting ready to leave him. I was like, "All right," I told myself, "All right, I'm going to go take one more lap. And then if I can't find him, I'm leaving." And I was like, "All right." So I head out, and I walk in, and I spot his car. And I was like, oh. And I walk up, and I stand at the freaking passenger side, and I hold my hands up in the air like, "What the hell?" And he's like, "Oh, my God." And he gets out, and he's like, "I thought you were in a car accident."
No. Now let me tell my perspective.
Yeah, hit me.
So, yeah, I'm out and about, and Colin's like, "You know what? Yeah, just meet me there." And I'm like, "Cool, I'm not that far." The way that I went only made it look like there was one way in, one way out. So I pull in the parking lot, and I'm waiting, and I find me a spot so I can see all the cars that are coming in. So I say, as soon as I see him spot his car, I'll get out. So I'm sitting there waiting, and then my phone's getting on 1%. Like, shit, I don't have a car charger. I text you, and I'm like, "Hey, just, by the by, I'm in the parking lot. I'm in the
phone's about to die.
Yeah, phone's about to die." And then my phone dies, so I'm just sitting there twiddling my thumbs and waiting. I'm just watching the cars go by, and then I'm looking at the time on, the clock in my car, and I'm like, man, he's cutting it close. He should be here by now.
He was.
And I'm just like, I keep watching these cars, and then I don't know, I must have been just a little dramatic or something, but heard a couple sirens go by, and then it got quiet, and then it started raining, and so I'm starting to shit my pants a little bit, and I'm like, oh my God, did he get in a car crash or something? Did someone...
Is he dead?
I was like, yeah, did something happen? And then another 10 minutes go by, and I'm on the brink of tears of oh my God, what's gonna happen? I feel like something should have happened by now. And then you like roll up and wave your hands at me, and I jump like damn near out of my skin. I'm getting out of the car. I'm like, Colin, I thought you were dead.
And I'm like, you're about to be.
Dude, yeah, you were so fucking mad. The walk-in was so quiet. Dude, it was silent.
I like that you were so certain that, like, first of all, okay, if that is the only way in, I like that you were so certain that there's no way you could have missed me, that you're like, well, I'm not going to go check and see if he's here.
No, because I saw every car. I mean, what else was I going to do? Sit on my phone? It's dead. So I was literally just watching, that thing. I was like, his car did not come in, because I would see them come in. I'd see their headlights, and I know what your headlights look like, and I know what your tail lights look like. So if I can't see the car, I know. I'm like, oh, okay, that looks close to his. And then as well as when it passed me, I could turn around and see it drive away. I'm like, that's not his taillights.
All of this to say, the silver lining was that by the time we got our tickets and our popcorn and our drink, and we went in and we sat down, we just got to catch the tail end of Nicole Kidman's fucking sales pitch that we've seen like 6 times now from the AMC theaters, where she's like, cinema is just incredible. And I'm like, oh my God. And the joke is, I always tell Chris, all right, I already bought the fucking ticket. Play the movie. Like, you ain't got to sell me on it.
You ain't gotta sell me.
You ain't got to keep selling me. I bought the tickets. Anyways, we saw the movie. It was a good time. I
was terrified.
And I was fuming. But, we're both okay.
Yeah. I only got hit once, so.
Yeah, right. And it wasn't even by me.
Yeah.
So before we get into the meat of the episode this week, we just have to talk about a few things up top. We've got Bob Odenkirk's next project after Better Call Saul, the newest project from the creators of Alan Wake, the future of The Flash in the DCEU, Brie Larson joining another major franchise, and Thor: Love and Thunder set a Marvel record. All right.
Oh, shit.
So if you're ready, we'll jump into the news.
Yeah, lay it on me. I haven't heard most of this, so I'm very excited.
All right, so Bob Odenkirk is actually going to continue to work with AMC after Better Call Saul wraps up this summer, because its final season actually starts airing, I want to say, the 18th. He's actually going to star and act as the executive producer on an adaptation of a novel by Richard Russo called Straight Man. Okay? Mm-hmm. And the story is being adapted by Aaron Zellman, he writes a lot of crime dramas, like television dramas, and Paul Lieberstein, who you might know as Toby from The Office.
Yeah, I know him.
And it's about a midlife crisis of a gentleman named William Devereaux Jr., and he's the chair of the English department at a pretty underfunded college in Pennsylvania. And Odenkirk just expressed that he really enjoyed the source material, the novel itself, as well as when he read their adaptation, he was like, I've got to do this. And luckily he has, from his relationship with AMC and Sony Television, which is who has produced Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
He has like a first look deal with Sony Television. So basically when they get a hot property in, he gets first dibs to look at it. Right.
Fuck yeah.
And so he was like, yeah, I like this. I want it. And AMC has reportedly like fast tracked the project in the hopes of reaching a 2023 debut. So, and I believe both Aaron Zellman and Paul Lieberstein are going to produce it as well. Because when I was looking at Paul's, I was like, I don't know him from anything else other than The Office, And I was looking, and it looks like he does primarily writing and producing. So he must be, I'm sure he made money from The Office, right? And he uses it to create more things that he enjoys, that he writes himself, right? Yeah. But so I'm excited because I like Odenkirk. He's done such a good job in both Breaking Bad, obviously, as Saul, where he's a little bit more of like the comedic relief. And then in Better Call Saul, we get to see him be a bit more dramatic. And he's done a great job with that as well.
Yeah.
So I just like the idea of... Go ahead. Yeah.
I was saying we should definitely do an episode just like covering Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. That'd be really interesting.
Yeah, because like apparently, I didn't put this in the news because it sounds like it's a little bit more conjecture than like fact, and I don't want to be like clickbaity, right? But it sounds like Walt and Jesse might be in season 6 because they'd kind of talked about that Better Call Saul would take place before, during, and after Breaking Bad. And so if you're coming towards the end of Saul's story, towards the end of his story, he does meet up with Walt and Jesse, so it would make sense for them to at least be background characters,
You said Walt and Jesse?
I said Walt and Jesse.
I'm interested on how they're going to take that, because Bryan Cranston, he still basically looks the same as well as they can get a bald cap. But Aaron Paul,
Right.
he's aging a little bit, starting to not
Right.
catch
Yeah.
up with him, but
Yeah. I mean, you
he's
figure
starting to.
he was like in his, I want to say like mid to late 20s when they started Breaking Bad, and that was in 2009. So that's been over 12 years. You know, you grow quite a bit, you know, and age quite a bit between, you know, 25 and 40, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, but no, I like that it's a source material that he enjoyed and, you know, is passionate about, and then to read a script about it and go, yep, this is it. Like, I like this and I
Yeah.
want to do it.
That makes me very excited.
Yeah, I trust his instinct on those things
Yeah.
now.
And I also take Bob Odenkirk to be one of those people where he's like, he's not a what is he, a cash cow.
Right. Yeah. Well, so yeah, and that's what I was going to say as well. Is I am certain he made his money from. I mean, you figure he did quite a bit of comedy writing and stuff. He worked on The Simpsons and SNL and stuff like that in his early years as a writer. And he worked for Conan on his show when he was doing the Tonight Show.
Mhm.
And so he's made a bunch of money before he was ever in Breaking Bad. And then I'm sure he made money in Breaking Bad, especially as the seasons went on. And then obviously being the top credit for 6 seasons of Better Call Saul, he has, I'm sure, made money.
Yeah.
So you can trust his instinct being based more on the property itself rather than the money.
Yeah.
Do you got any more thoughts on that? I don't want to nag on because we will.
Yeah, no, I look forward to watching that, especially if Walt and Jesse are in it, 'cause I think that'd be super interesting to see them again, and you know who doesn't want to see Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul
Yeah,
as
they're a
their
great duo.
yeah. But yeah, I think we should definitely, because I know we started Better Call
Better
Saul.
Call. We're pretty far into it. We're almost through season 4, but
Yeah.
obviously we got to catch up because there's a season 5 that should be available on Netflix now, and then like I said, season 6 starts up in like a week.
Yeah, so we gotta catch up, and then I'd love to do an overview, maybe of Breaking Bad, and then after that, do one of like Better Call Saul.
Yeah, maybe we do. Maybe we try and do Better Call Saul. I don't know that we'll be able to squeeze it in before the show ends, but maybe in preparation for like the series finale, we can do a recap on Better Call Saul, and then talk about the final season. I don't know.
Yeah.
And just spitball. So Remedy Entertainment, which is the team behind games like Control and Alan Wake, have announced that they will be teaming up with Rockstar to completely remake Max Payne 1 and 2.
Okay.
And Remedy is manning the development side of the things, while Rockstar is just funding the production, because it is a Rockstar property. They own Max Payne. But they're, you know, again, talking about making your money. They've got plenty of money from all them shark cards to just throw at, you know, Remedy to make a game, right?
Right.
And Remedy actually just shipped a remaster of their own game, Alan Wake, last year, before announcing the really long-awaited sequel to that game itself at the Game Awards in December. So the Max Payne remakes are going to be shipped as a single game, as opposed to like 2 separate titles, and it's going to be releasing on PC, Xbox Series X and S, as well as the PS5. Did you get to play the Max Payne games?
No.
I would say I know that they would have been pretty graphic for when you were playing on a PS2, as well as, you know, they're old hits, but they're great. That concept of like bullet time, you know, where you jump through the air and go slow motion, you're firing double guns and all that.
Oh yeah.
That's Max Payne. Like Max Payne made that for games.
Okay.
And they had the most recent one I want to say was Max Payne 3 in like 2013 or 2011, somewhere in there. It might have even been 2015. I know that it was either just before or just after GTA 5 came out. And it was really good. It was a solid like single player shooter. It had a nice like gritty modern noir to it.
Sure.
And so I'd be excited to see, you know, obviously next gen or I guess current gen graphics on an old story that's got a fond spot, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
While we're talking about Alan Wake, this isn't even a different news story. Have you heard of Alan Wake? I know that when it originally came out, it was a Xbox exclusive, but it's since been ported to like the PlayStations and stuff like that.
I have not. I do not know what Alan Wake is.
Yeah, so it's a really cool. I didn't get to play Control, which was their most recent like new game. But apparently it takes place in the same universe as Alan Wake. But Alan Wake is about an author who writes horror novels. He's supposed to be kind of like a Stephen King, and he's got writer's block. And so he goes to this town that I've completely lost the name of, but it's basically like a Twin Peaks kind of, sleepy mountain town that might have more hiding behind it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he is slowly losing his mind and having to collect pages of a manuscript that he doesn't remember writing. And as he picks up the manuscript pages and reads them, what he's reading about seems to come true in front of him, right? And so he's living through a horror novel that he wrote that he doesn't remember writing. And it's actually really cool, and it has a nice mechanic of all the enemies are shrouded in darkness, and you have to hit them with a flashlight, not like strike them with it, but shine the light on them to like break the shadow before you can kill them. So it's kind of stressful because your instinct is to just like start firing away with the gun,
Right. But you can't do that.
You've got to strategize, and it gets pretty intense. But it's a good game,
really
and
interesting.
I did buy the remaster of it, and I've been playing through that, and it's a good time.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to try it out.
And the trailer for Alan Wake 2 that they showed looked really like, they said they were going to focus more on the survival horror aspect of like, limited supplies and you're alone and all that, and just really force you into being afraid for your life because I don't have much to keep me alive,
Right.
And so that's exciting.
That
any thoughts
really
on that?
exciting.
I don't want to move on.
I was just gonna say that sounds really, really exciting. Yeah, and I love the aspect of it. Not having as much supplies, because I will say in video games, if I have like more ammunition, anything like that, I'm always more of like a
guns blazing.
Yeah,
So anyways, I started blasting.
Yeah, I'm already a barbarian when I play, but with this, it definitely puts you through the ringer of trying to, like you're saying, strategize and everything. It sounds very intriguing.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off of that, you talking about being like guns blazing, that it'll be interesting to see, because Max Payne 1 and 2 is much more that, like, like I said, jumping through doorways, you're going into slow motion, firing double pistols, and it's very high octane energy, like action movie. So it's a good contrast to see them be able to do something like that, as well as a game like Alan Wake, where it's more slow and methodical and strategic.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we're going to pivot to some movie stuff. So it's been in the news, and I don't want to get into all the details, but the recent arrest of actor Ezra Miller in Hawaii has caused Warner Brothers and DC executives to kind of hold an emergency meeting to discuss their future with Miller. And as of right now, it doesn't seem like there's any official announcement stating whether a decision was made as far as, are we going to fire him? Are we going to keep moving forward? Is there going to be punishment? Whatever, right? But the consensus from the public seems to be replace Ezra with Grant Gustin, who plays Flash in the television show on the CW. And honestly, I mean, this isn't the first public misconduct that Ezra Miller has been the center of. Just before COVID hit, they were caught on camera grabbing a fan by the neck after being kind of, I'm sure it was annoying, asked for photographs and things like that, but still you don't assault somebody, right?
Right, yeah.
And I think they got lucky insofar as COVID hit right at the same time, and it kind of got swept under the rug, because the news had bigger things to focus on. And so luckily it was like a whoof, maybe we don't have to address that. And then, of course, right as we're coming out of COVID, they go and get themselves in trouble in Hawaii.
Yeah, it was literally the day after he got his Oscar.
Yeah.
The ego just all went to his head. The power.
The power! Yeah. I did. I'm torn. So I didn't watch too much of the television show of The Flash, but my wife did. And, it was pretty enjoyable for just a standard cable television show on the CW or wherever it is. But, I remember seeing that it's going on its 9th season. So I don't know if Grant Gustin's going to be in a spot where he wants to do that. You know what I mean?
You're already so far.
I've already been the character for better part of 10 years, to then now go, oh yeah, how do you want to be him in a movie? And, would it be the same character, or is he going to have to start over? Is he taking over for Ezra Miller as the same? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's already got such an idea of who the Flash is for him. I don't know how that would translate. I think it'd be a good opportunity to It looks like the Flash movie is going to kind of involve the multiverse, or at least timelines and things like that. So it might be a good opportunity to go. And when some time stuff happened, now instead of it being Barry Allen, it's Wally West, which is another Flash from the comics. And so then you can just do a whole new character, different actor, whatever, and just kind of wash your hands of it, whatever. But I do think. I do think, obviously, there's something going on with Ezra, and they do need maybe some help or whatever, but I'm not a professional. It's not really my area. But just in general, I don't know that them being in a big spotlight like that is necessarily the move. It's bad for them as well as, obviously, the company.
Mm-hmm. What did they do?
So in Hawaii, they got drunk at a karaoke bar, from what I understand, and were like screaming. From my understanding, it was like maybe racial slurs and stuff, and just being belligerent in general. And yeah, just basically, it sounded like they were getting upset at a karaoke bar that people were singing, and which obviously doesn't make sense. And it's funny on the surface, but it's like, okay, either they were very drunk or they're a very unstable person right now. Yeah, they might not be in a great spot, which is sad to see. But yeah, they had a pretty public. I mean, you're out at a bar and people go, "Oh, that's Ezra Miller," and then you go and do that, and it's not a good look, obviously.
Right. Yeah. Yikes.
And like I said, they've got a history of being just randomly violent. So yeah, I think there is something there that they need to work on themselves before, being a headliner of a pretty major franchise.
Godspeed, Spider-Man. Base boosted.
Yeah.
You gotta help me. I caught the Mind Goblin.
Yeah, I can help you, Mr. Osborn. But what's the Mind Goblin? Mind Goblin these nuts. Ha ha. Anyhow, Vin Diesel, he got on Instagram. What?
And nothing. Continue.
Anyways, Vin Diesel, he got on Instagram and he posted a selfie of him and Brie Larson to announce that she is going to be a part of the Fast and the Furious-verse. So Diesel posted a candid selfie of the two of them just laughing, and the caption said, yeah, you see this angel over my shoulder cracking me up. You say to yourself, that's Captain Marvel. Clearly there's love and laughter in this image. What you don't see, however, is the character you will be introduced to in Fast 10. You have no idea how timeless and amazing she will be in our mythology. Beyond her beauty, her intellect, her Oscar, and he wrote, is this profound soul who will add something you might not have expected but yearned for. Welcome to the family, Brie. And he wrote family in all caps. So yeah, Larson's going to be joined by Jason Momoa, as they'll both be newcomers to the Fast franchise. And Fast 10 is going to be like part 1 of a 2-part finale. So they're going for the Harry Potter Deathly Hallows part 1 and 2 for Fast and the Furious. And I would just like to take the moment to remind people that Fast and the Furious 1 is about an undercover cop trying to get on the inside of a DVD player stealing ring.
It took this long.
And now, 11 films by the time it's done, and they're going to space. Like, what?
These DVDs, it's not just on Earth, it's on the fucking moon.
They legitimately went to space in the last one.
Oh my god. I stopped watching it, I think, after 3.
I didn't see 8 or 9. I did see 7, and I don't think I saw 6, but I saw 5. 5 was a really good time, actually. Like, I was like, oh, shit. Yeah, like, 5's really good. I mean, it's dumb. Like, you got to just kind of turn the brain off. You're not going there to see, like, art. But if it does its job of making you go, damn, that was a good time. It was funny, it was actiony, whatever. Then it did its job, right? And that's a form of art, but it's not like an art house film. I don't know that the phrase she will be in our mythology is really how I would describe the lore, if you want to call it that, of Fast and the Furious.
Vin Diesel's really big simping for Brie Larson right here.
Yeah. Well, and her Oscar, she's like, she's smart. And by God, she's got an Oscar. We can slap starring Oscar winner Brie Larson. Fast 10, And all I can think about is all the memes when he did in all caps, family. But yeah, so, you got any thoughts there?
Like I said, I think I stopped after number like 3 or 4. I remember
Yeah.
2 was really good. 2, Tokyo Drift. That's just such a classic.
Yeah, right.
And I'm always down to watch that because who doesn't love a good car movie?
Yes, and I
And
can't think of the actor's name, but the one that plays Han in that, his buddy is.
yeah, shit, I'm blanking on it. Jamie, pull that up.
Yeah, let's see here. You keep talking like you were talking.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's more of a gag at this point.
Right. Yeah.
But to me, it's like a gag that's like you're joking. Like there's
Yeah,
dead
like it's
ass
getting
making another one.
excessive.
Like yeah, but the
Like
joke
they're
was
calling it
over.
the
Go
Fast
home.
Saga. The
Yeah,
Fast Saga. It's a saga. 11 films.
Jesus, that's fucking ridiculous. It's just way too much going on, and yeah. What the hell are you even gonna make this about?
Yeah.
I saw is it Hobbs and Shaw, which is like the
Yes. Yeah.
spin-off. And when I went on a bachelor party for a buddy, we're all just kind of chilling, and there's so much going on. I was like, I need to go sit down for a little bit, and so I'm
I
sitting
need to
down,
sit down.
and we're in a cabin, and so I just threw cable TV on, and I was just like glazed over, like fucking beat, tired as shit. And I see this, and I'm like, all right, I guess I'll give this a watch.
Yeah.
It is so bad. Like I was watching it with a buddy of mine named Blaine, and we could not stop laughing.
Yeah.
About how bad it was. Like there was a scene where, kind of like the Captain America helicopter scene where he's holding on to
Yeah.
the,
Yeah.
There's a scene where Dwayne The Rock Johnson is being, is holding.
Is it
He's
when
on
he flexes out of his cast?
no. It was actually like supposed to be a more serious scene.
I gotcha.
He's holding on to like the cord of a tow truck.
Uh-huh.
And I think
Right.
he's holding
Right.
on, and he's holding on to the
The chain
helicopter.
and then the
Yeah,
helicopter. Yeah.
yeah, and he's just like he's the sole reason why he's keeping these things together.
Yeah, he's the link in the chain.
Yeah, and I was just like, dude, no. Like
No.
I'm gonna buy it more if it's Steve Rogers because he's a superhuman. You're just
Right,
a
yeah,
jock.
he's been juiced up. Yeah, you're just a guy.
Yeah, and so I was like, it's so stupid that they try to
And
pan it
that's the
off as
thing, is
that,
it's
but
like I want to say it's either 4 or 5 where they just all of a sudden become superheroes. Like it goes
it's
from
just like
street racing and DVD player theft to like just they're on the moon and they're holding planes together and shit. It's just crazy. I did find his name, by the way. The actor that plays Han is Sung Kang, and he's a Korean American actor. Yeah.
But yeah, it was just bad, and I'm probably gonna go see it now because you mentioned something, but I don't know. It's just Jesus.
Yeah, the nice thing about him is it's not the kind of franchise where, well, I've got to see the first 9 before I see 10. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
You could probably just drop in and turn your head off and just go, all right, cool. There's tits, ass, and shit blowing up, and I'm cool with that,
Yep.
So yeah, I mentioned it up top, but Thor: Love and Thunder has set a kind of negative record for the MCU. It's got the shortest gap between its first trailer and the release date. So we have not seen any footage yet, and it releases in less than 90 days.
Yikes.
I think right now it might be more than 90, but by the time this episode goes out, it'll be the 90 days. Which could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, I don't know. The prior record holder was The Incredible Hulk, which had 93 days between its first look and its opening day. And, of course, people are like speculating like crazy because there's nothing else to do.
Right.
They're like, maybe it's because it's a bad movie, which I don't think is likely because Taika Waititi does a pretty good job with most things he's involved in.
I got a feeling and this is just
I thought you were going to say, I got a fever.
I got a fever. And the only prescription
is more cowbell.
Love and Thunder trailer. No, I was gonna say I could definitely see them dropping a trailer, and it's just like, what the fuck? And then like you're like, what the fuck? Like I have to go
Yeah.
see this. This is crazy. And like
Well,
it's
and I
just
was
gonna
wondering
drop a lot on you.
that they might do like Spider-Man No Way Home did, where they use the post-credit scene of that to just be the trailer for the next movie. And they might do that with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So I'm wondering if maybe it has major connections to either Moon Knight or Doctor Strange, basically something that's happening right now that will set up Thor, and if they showed the trailer, it would spoil what's happening right now.
Sure. Which I would be okay with it as an understanding point.
Yeah. Because like I remember, for example, some of the early, like the trailer they showed at Comic-Con for Avengers Infinity War had Thor, like the first shot of the trailer is Thor crashing into the windshield of the Benatar, and he has both of his eyes.
Yeah.
But in the release, like the actual trailer that went out to the public, he's wearing the eye patch because Thor had been out by then. So just things like that. And I mean, Marvel's good for that. They'll edit in or out whole characters from scenes or put in a scene from the movie that just never happens. And I'm sure part of that's just it gets left in editing, but also like we got to throw people off the trail, you know?
Yeah.
Because people will just comb through these trailers and find out everything, which is fun. But then by the time you get there, there's no surprises.
Yeah, and that's the thing I like about going to the movies is just that little surprise.
Yeah. Well, maybe Sony has some surprises in store for us. Yeah, it's a segue, baby.
That's pretty smooth. So, smooth as butter.
Smooth like ice. All right.
What's cooler than being cool?
Ice cold! Anyways, we're going to look at just all of the Sony Spider-Verse movies. So basically, starting at Venom in 2018, and then working our way up to the gold that is Morbius, and then the future. There's only one or two films that are like for sure coming out in the future, but there's quite a few movies that are at some stage of development and not like there's no confirmation that they're canceled.
Do you hear that?
Hear what?
Not a sponsor.
What even was it?
It was a can of soda.
Oh. I was like, is he popping a cold one? So let's just talk about like real brief. I mean, we're not going to get into too much plot. We're going to talk about if we liked it, didn't like it, what they could have done better, what was good, what was bad, whatever. Right. So Venom 2018. Did you see it?
Yes.
All right. What'd you think?
I thought it was okay. Like I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was solid.
Yeah. So and I think this is a good comparison between it and Morbius. When my wife and I went to go see Venom, I wasn't confident in it. Again, like the trailer didn't catch me. I was like, all right, I'll go see it because it's, Spider-Man adjacent, right? And so I had pretty low expectations in general, and they exceeded it exceeded that expectation. I was like, okay, yeah, that was more enjoyable than I suspected it would be, right?
Right.
I did think it was, there was some things they could have done better, obviously, but that's the kind of the case with any origin story. Yeah, in general, it wasn't terrible. Like, I did really not enjoy the post-credit scene with Woody Harrelson wearing he looked like a Ronald McDonald wig, supposed to be fucking Cletus Cassidy, who is Carnage. But yeah. That post-credit scene was rough. Because, I mean, he literally says, I think he says the phrase, like, there will be carnage. And he's got just a fucking wig on that. He looks like Annie, like Little Orphan Annie. And you're like, oh no. But yeah, it surprised. I thought there was some good humor to it. The action wasn't bad. I wish that they had made like the villain a little bit more distinct, where there was times where they're fighting and it just looks like there's mud on the screen.
Yeah.
But in general, it was it was good. I thought obviously Tom Hardy had a pretty strong carry on his back there,
Yeah,
but
he's a really talented actor in my opinion.
Yeah, and kudos to him. There's some silly lines or some just general shittiness that he sells pretty well. And then, of course, that leads to Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, which was actually directed by Andy Serkis. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm interested, right? Maybe it'll be better or whatever. I personally felt it was pretty plain.
I did not see it.
Right. And I mean, a lot of people did, which, I mean, you figure it came out during the pandemic and stuff. And so it obviously had lower numbers anyhow. And then it went to streaming, and unfortunately, it's not on like any specific streaming service. You have to rent it still, I believe. So, you know, I did end up renting it. And I was glad I did, because it was relatively plain. I mean, it was pretty middling. I told my wife it felt like it came out like it was a very 2009 movie, you know, which I think is a problem that a lot of these are going to come up against. That'll be a theme that we see, is just in a world where Marvel has been active for the better part of 15 years, origin stories that are just okay feel really bad in comparison, because we're kind of past the origin story. We've seen it so many times that it's hard to sell. I did like the inclusion at the end. The post-credit scene was, okay, Venom is in the MCU and he's seeing Tom Holland Spider-Man on the TV, and Venom is like, yeah, I want that guy. And so it's like, okay, cool. So here's how they're going to meet up. And then in the post-credit scene for No Way Home, he never leaves the tiki bar that he's in the first movie, and then he just disappears back to his universe. And so it's like, okay, well, that was kind of a waste. But they did leave a little teaser that the symbiote had stayed behind. But I was really excited to see Tom Hardy get to interact with Tom Holland.
That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted.
But I don't know. And it's a hard thing, because then it's like, well, I don't know if I want Tom Holland's Spider-Man to touch the same universe as Morbius.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and it's a hard up and down where they haven't gotten enough consistency. Yeah. There's not enough consistency in the product yet for me to go, yeah, there's something there. We can fold that in. You know, I'm still very like, ooh, you can give it a try, but don't let it touch. It's like that kid that's picky about his food touching, you know?
Yeah.
So we're not going to talk about Morbius because we already did. So we're just going to go ahead and say, yuck. Kraven the Hunter is the next confirmed film, and that's supposed to come out in 2023. And it's got Aaron Taylor Johnson cast in the title role of Kraven. Kraven is actually a really interesting Spider-Man villain. And so I like the idea of, he's a cool one to use. But I do worry that it's a cool character that they're going to give a meh movie to, and then kill that character as far as like financial viability for the studio, you know, where they're like, well, I guess people don't like Kraven. And it's like, no, people just don't like bad movies. Like, you know, I think, because like we said with Morbius, there is something there.
Yeah. You know,
they just didn't find it.
No. I think with this one, because Kraven's just the hunter, correct?
Kraven the Hunter, yep.
Or Kraven. Kraven's just the hunter. No, Kraven's just a villain, right?
Correct. Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, I know more of him from. There's a very specific book called I want to say Kraven's Last Hunt. Yeah. And then I know him primarily from like the 90s cartoon and things like that. And yeah, in my experience, he's only been a villain. I know that both Morbius and Venom in the comics did kind of transition into like anti-hero / vigilantism. In the 90s, when they were like, these guys need to be kind of better than they are so that we can sell them to kids, you know?
Right. With Kraven the Hunter, I feel something I'd really love to see, just make him a villain. I want to hate him.
Yeah, give me because I mean, not to compare.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say with Morbius or Venom, you know, they're villains, but they're trying to make them a likable character.
Right, and I don't even know. Like Venom wants to be a hero.
Yeah, he's like, we only eat bad guys, and I'm like, well, that's not who he is. But
yeah, which that is more from like the '90s comic of like, you know, when he's a good guy, air quotes, you know, he's being an anti-hero or a vigilante, and which is where like the thing about him eating chocolate comes from. is like, okay, in place of human flesh, he can just eat chocolate bars. Isn't that cute? You know? And it's
Right.
like, no. I want to see him eat people. Like, show me
Yeah.
him biting the head off.
Right. Yeah. Make
It's like if
him.
you're going to
Yeah.
set up, that could be the selling point. Like, what separates this from the Marvel Universe is these are all bad people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, DC's thing seems to be, that it's darker and grittier or whatever, right? And Marvel has its, you know what Marvel tastes like,
Yeah. Yeah.
But maybe the Sony-verse could be, these are all bad guys, like, and then you're in a nice conundrum where you're like, I love to hate these guys and I hate that I love them, right? And then
Right.
you pit them against a Spider-Man of some sort, not necessarily Tom Holland, but a Spider-Man, and you're like, ooh, but I love Spider-Man too.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've got a conflict within yourself of like, do I root for the Sinister Six or do I root for Spider-Man, who's obviously the hero, but I know
Right.
these guys, And you could make them complex characters where, they're villains, but they're not like just mustache twirling, cackling villains. They're villains for a reason, right? You justify their villainy so that you understand them. All of that
And
to
as
say,
well as I wouldn't make it like, something I've seen far too often is in the origin story. They'll make him out to be like this badass, could take anything on,
right?
and then when they fight, when they try to combine two movies, a perfect example: Godzilla versus King Kong. I know
Yeah,
I stroked that off for a long time,
and then it
but
came out, and you're like, "Is I?"
yeah, I was like, that's all right. But yeah, they're both so powerful by themselves, and then when they come together, it's like, well,
Yeah,
yeah, it just didn't seem like they gave it their all.
right. Um, with Craven being played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, it does make me like disappointed because it's like, oh man, like with this being MCU adjacent, and Aaron Taylor Johnson is who played Quicksilver
Okay.
in the MCU. It's like,
Uh-huh.
well, obviously he's not. I wouldn't think he's not a Pietro Maximoff variant, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, well, I guess we really aren't going to see that Quicksilver again.
Which kind of sucks because I liked him as Quicksilver.
Yeah, and I just like the idea of let's get another Quicksilver,
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, because we
so
didn't see him anything more than that movie.
no, like they brought him in and they killed him, and then it was like, all right, we there we go, there you go, people. There's stakes in these movies. We killed a character that you didn't really care about yet.
Yeah.
Obviously, then they changed that up with like Infinity War and Endgame, but still. Then we're going to talk about these. We'll not really get to do too much in depth about because they're all vaguely in production. Like the one that I've been hearing the most about recently is Madam Web. Now I'm looking it up on the Wikipedia page here just to see if there's ones that I didn't know about that were in production. And they mention here that after working on Morbius, Sony hired Matt Sazama and Burke Sharpless to write a script centered around Madam Web. So the two guys that wrote Morbius are writing Madam Web. And I'm like, oh
Jesus.
no, that's not good.
Get him out of here.
But
Put
it
him
sounds
in
like
the bag.
it sounds like they hired a new writer to create a film with a specific actress in mind, which is good. So Dakota Johnson, do you know her by name, or would I have to tell you what she's been in?
No, I do not know.
She's the female lead from 50 Shades.
I haven't seen it.
Couldn't picture it. Well, I mean, you don't have to see it. I haven't watched them either.
What's her name?
Dakota Johnson. Are you looking it up on your phone?
Yeah. Okay. I've seen her face.
Okay. So, and then there's been, they don't say it here, and I completely blanked on the young lady's name, but she is from Euphoria.
Zendaya?
No. Very pretty blonde. But either way, she's been rumored to maybe be in it. The thing that gets me is in the comics, Madam Web is an older person, an older woman who is like, she kind of exists outside the multiverse of sorts, and she can like, she brings together in the cartoon, she actually brings together a bunch of different Spider-Men in like a Spider-Verse type deal to help stop Carnage, or a version of Carnage.
Okay.
And so it's a character that might be able to introduce the. It seems like a natural way to go. Okay, we're gonna kind of dig into the multiverse from Sony's perspective, right?
Sure.
But they don't list who the new writer is. So I'm like, okay, I'm glad that they're maybe going. You know what? Maybe they saw early cuts of Morbius and were like, yeah, we got to get these guys off the fucking job here, and brought somebody else in. But Dakota Johnson's been in some good movies outside of the 50 Shades films, and so I'm like, okay, I'd be interested to see what they can do with that character. But it does seem like an odd character to base a whole movie around. She really is typically just like she's kind of like bound to a chair with no use of her legs, so that's an interesting like story thing to have to work around. Or do they just go, fuck it, she can walk? You know what I mean?
Right.
But I could see that leading into the Sinister Six, which they've kind of been trying to work that into existence since like 2013. Back when the Amazing Spider-Man came out, the plan was, all right, we're going to do 3 Amazing Spider-Man movies and a Sinister Six movie. And you figure at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2, the post-credit scene is like the basement of Oscorp has like basically it's just a basement full of origin stories where there's vulture wings and the black cat suit and the Dr. Octopus arms and all that. And it's like, yep, that's where it's going to come from, right? But now it looks like we're getting Vulture from the MCU, and I guess Morbius and Venom and Kraven the Hunter. And so it's like, okay, is Madam Web going to be the other one? Or is there another character that we haven't heard about yet? You know what I mean?
Well, the original Sinister Six is Vulture, Electro, Doc Ock, Goblin, Rhino, and Scorpion, right?
I believe so, yep.
What the fuck's wrong with getting a Scorpion? Like,
Right, yeah, we haven't seen him in live action yet.
We haven't seen too much of Rhino either.
Right, yeah, I mean, we basically got Paul Giamatti laughing at a robotic dinosaur or rhinoceros.
Right, so like make something happen there. Like, not that I'm against other ones, but like,
no, yeah,
like those are some ones I want to see.
Yeah, give us something interesting.
Especially Scorpion. They did a fantastic job with Scorpion in the Amazing Spider-Man video game.
Yes, yeah. And then obviously in Spider-Man PS4, when we got like Electro and Shocker and all that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, they basically did the Sinister Six in that game, and it went really well. Give me Doc Ock. Give me a different version of Doc Ock. I don't want to see Alfred Molina again. He's a good guy, but, we don't need to tie him into this. Just give me something new. After that, it really kind of gets gray, because for a while that was dropped off, but hereafter, Venom did pretty well financially. Amy Pascal, who's like the head of Sony, was like, yeah, we're doing this shit, like run it. So they're ramping back up production on that film as an idea, which I think is pretty evident from the movies that they're making, that they're building to their own team up, And I would like for it to be good. I'm not going to try and shit on it all the way, but I'm nervous because they haven't made anything mind-blowing yet, They haven't hit their Iron Man or their their Avengers, Captain America 1, things like that, where you're like, ooh, there's something here. And after that, it gets real sketchy. Like, there's rumors of like, oh yeah, they're writing a Jackpot movie, which Jackpot's a really weird character, again, to make a movie about. Jackpot in comics is just like, oh, it's a woman who the whole comic is based around making you go, I think that's fucking Mary Jane going out at night and being a hero or a vigilante of sorts. And then the reveal is like, yeah, no, it's not Mary. And I'm like, okay, are they gonna get someone that looks like Zendaya? Are they just gonna get Zendaya to do it and then it not be Zendaya? You know what I mean? Or completely change it around? I don't know, because we don't really have a Peter Parker confirmed in this universe to go, oh, that must be his Mary Jane. You know what I mean?
No, that's
and
all.
Then and they're actually looking into making television series as well, like a Silk film, which Silk is, I believe. Let me pull her up here. I want to make sure I'm thinking of the right one. Yeah, Cindy Moon. She's a Korean American who actually got bit by the same spider, I believe, as Peter Parker at the same time. And Peter Parker's been out Spider-Manning, and she's been trying to like just train herself and hone her skills and all that. And so she's kind of an interesting one to go, yeah, here's somebody else that is a spider person and might have better like combat skills, and some of her different skills have been honed and things like that. And I believe she's got a photographic memory, if I recall. But yeah, so that's an interesting character to go, yeah, let's throw her in. Fuck it, see what sticks. But I don't know where they would air it, because they don't have their own streaming service. It's not like a Disney Plus series or anything like that.
That's my first thought would say maybe Disney Plus, but I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they could strike a deal. Who knows? And then there's a series that they have in development. Did you say no?
I don't see them ever doing that.
No, because there's too much money on the stake for both of them.
Yeah, they're each way too stubborn to money hungry for that.
And really, it looks like that's the last one that has like any real meat on its bones as far as like, yeah, there's something happening there. Everything else is like, yeah, so-and-so is attached to write something vaguely, like this one's going to have a female character in it. And it's like, okay, well, that could be anybody, right?
Right.
And it's like last we heard in 2017, you know what I mean? So I really don't think... I think they were throwing a lot at the wall to see what stuck. And now that they've gotten some success with the villains, they're like, all right, well, we're running with that. So, I'm hopeful for it, but I don't know. Let's get into something a little bit more enjoyable. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like we said at the top, we went and saw Everything Everywhere, which was a movie that we didn't know anything about until we saw the trailer for it in front of the Batman. And we both kind of looked at each other and went, oh.
That looks pretty
interesting, So I'll talk a little bit about like its performance so far, keeping in mind that it doesn't have an overseas release yet, and its marketing has been pretty slim, considering you figure that's the first we'd seen it.
Yeah.
So it's been out for a few weeks, but its wide release was this weekend, this past Friday. And so far, it's got a $6 million weekend on a budget of $25 million. So hopefully with things like good word of mouth and getting potentially an overseas release, it should be able to make that $25 million back.
Yeah.
And with next to no marketing, you might call it $30 million, right? Reception, it's been received very well from like a review standpoint. IMDb has it sitting at a 9 out of 10. Metacritic has it at an 82 out of 100, giving it an 8 out of 10. And Rotten Tomatoes, it's currently sitting at a 97% from the critics and a 94% from the audience. So it seems across the board, everybody's saying it's on the higher end of good.
It's really, really good.
Yeah, we enjoyed it a lot, and I think the surprise of it was nice that I didn't know anything about it. It rarely happens to me that something that really interests me just kind of flies under the radar.
Yeah.
And what's nice is that it was written and directed by Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, I believe is how you pronounce the last name. And they work together under the name just Daniels. And they actually made the movie from a few years ago, Swiss Army Man, with
Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, which I could totally see now, where it's super bizarre. And from the cast standpoint, you've got Michelle Yeoh, who is from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and she plays Evelyn Wang. And her daughter is played by Stephanie Sue, I believe is how you pronounce her last name. And she's recently been in Marvelous Ms. Maisel on Amazon. And then she was actually in Shang-Chi. She's the friend that they're having dinner with.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen Shang-Chi yet?
No.
You bastard.
I was like, oh, yeah, I was going to play it off.
Oh, wait.
Okay, yeah.
You got to see Shang-Chi. It's very good.
Yeah, I know. I hear it was really good. I don't know. I don't know why. Because I remember going like, oh, no, I do want to see that. And then I just never did. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm never going to watch that movie.
Right. Yeah. It just never happened, I guess.
Right.
And then we've got, let's see. I'm really going to butcher his name and I feel bad. K Hui Kwan. And he is most famously from Goonies and Temple of Doom. He played Data and Short Round, respectively. And he plays the husband of the family, the father, Wayman Wang. And then James Hong, who's been in like Blade Runner and Big Trouble in Little China, and then he's been in a bunch of different like comedic roles. He plays the grandfather, Gong Gong. and then Jamie Lee Curtis from like
All
Halloween and Knives Out. Go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
I said all I think of for the actor who plays the grandfather is the fucking dad from Kung Fu Panda who sells noodles.
Yes.
Like that is just
That's
when
literally
he
who it is.
talks. That I know,
That's-
but like whenever he
yeah.
talks, that's just like that's him. That's all I see.
Yeah. You're like, oh, that is the dad from Kung Fu Panda. I'm hearing it.
Tell me I want noodles. Tell me something.
Yeah. So I've got the synopsis pulled up if you want me to read it to you.
Yeah.
So I found a variety of synopses. One of which was just an aging Chinese immigrant is swept up in an insane adventure where she alone can save the world by exploring other universes, connecting with the lives she could have led. So I think that's pretty much all the trailer tells you, honestly.
Yeah,
like
literally, if even.
Like it was very obviously multiversal. And you're like, okay, there's something there maybe. But the action looked good. It looked visually interesting, and I was like, all right. I thought we would rate it up top since we're not going to spoil it. I said it was overwhelming.
Oh, 100%. Overwhelming.
Like it's a must see. And I think, yeah, we don't want to spoil it because I think it's a movie that you should just go see for yourself and not listen to two jagaloons just slap their gums about it.
Literally, it's very good film.
It's so good, and it's the least you know, the better. I think there was so many surprises for me that I would hate to take that away from you. So yeah, go see it if you can. Because again, it's also a pretty original movie, and for it to be an indie film, it sounds like a lot of money, but $25 million isn't a lot in movie terms. So I'd really like to see it succeed being an original story and things like that. You don't get a lot of that in Hollywood anymore. You don't get a low budget film in Hollywood too much anymore. So I think if we could vote with our wallet and show them that, yeah, I like that. Give me more something like that. That'd be
definitely
good.
make movies better in the future. Yeah, it did feel fresh. It was like, this is completely different from what I've seen.
Would you like to try and tap dance around spoilers, or do you want me to start?
I'll let you start. No, I want to start. No,
yeah,
I want to start.
Go ahead. I just talked for like 35 minutes about Sony. You talk.
So, one of the biggest things I say that I appreciated in the movie, first thing, camera angles.
Yeah, it was.
There's a lot of camera shots. Extremely, just how they planned that with the actors and actresses, and very phenomenal work. Just stuff that I didn't even think about. Like, and then as soon as it happened, I was like, oh my god, that's really really fucking cool. And stuff like that.
Do you hear
that? Cracking a cold one,
huh? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you hear that? Crack another one? No.
Yeah, we've just got too many. You just hear a pile of cans rattle behind you where you throw up over your head.
Bad dog.
We're just shotgunning beers on the podcast.
But then as well as trying to tiptoe around the spoiler. I will say. All right, so lay it out in the open. Mm-hmm. I am a simple man.
That's true.
You understand me?
Oh yeah.
So like they did a very so obviously it's about the multiverse. They did a very good job explaining it to people who are dumb as shit like me.
Yeah, and it starts off weird. It doesn't stop being weird, but it's weird the whole time, but not the story itself stays pretty standard. It's just the things you're seeing are weird. So I don't want the weirdness to be a gatekeeper for you. It's not hard to follow. It's odd. There's weird shit happening on screen.
Yeah. But yeah, so I definitely appreciated that, or at least I don't know, maybe I don't know, but yeah, it just felt good going into that, and like given the backstory of everything and trying to comprehend and follow everything. I felt with it throughout the entire movie. I never got lost, which was very surprising for, just how bananas just the trailer was.
Right.
And, some of the other things I appreciated is just try not to go into any spoilers. Um,
You
this one's
got it.
probably a given, but the acting
Yeah.
and for it being such a weird movie, there were times where it was weird. Um, I won't say how it impacted me,
Right.
but impacted me in just such a serious way.
Yeah. I think I even say that. I'd have to flip through my notes here, but yeah, I just about how it's crazy that it like it's a high wire act of like we're gonna be just absurdly weird and funny in the goofiest way, um, and just like really take it to the edge of all right, this is just silly,
Yeah.
and then make you cry. And there's jokes that make you laugh out loud in the theater that then
Hmm.
come back later in very emotionally climactic scenes, and you're laughing with tears on your face,
Yeah.
and it does do a good job of flipping between those different styles or feelings, and not being like, oh wait, we're doing that now, you know what I mean?
Right, right. And I will say, you know, during the movie, I won't say what was going on. I was crying
Oh
heavily,
yeah, no, we both cried
and I kept looking
more than
over at.
once.
Oh yeah, I kept looking over at Colin, and trying to see if he saw me crying, because I'm like,
Trying
trying
to
to
hold it
keep it
together.
together, and I'm just.
I heard you. I didn't look at you, but I heard you crying.
And then so we got to talking about it afterwards, and you were like, "Yeah, you were breathing. What did you say? You're breathing through your mouth, trying to."
I was like, yeah, I was basically taking little like hyperventilating breaths from like, because if I exhaled, I was just gonna go.
But, yeah, I the poor lady sitting next to me hearing my nachos, because I didn't eat all day, so I got nachos when I was in there. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be a fat little piggy. Let me get a beef hot dog and some nachos with the salsa." And so I fucking put my ass down, and I'm just. just throw in this fucking glizzy and just tearing it up.
You had an experience. You tore
Dude,
up some food. Like it was 2 hours.
I remember I looked at you after like 3 bites, and I was like, "Damn, this wiener's good." Like
Yeah,
this
you
is
did
it.
too. You're like, this is so good. You want a bite? And I was like, no, I'm solid. Like, thanks
I
though.
was like, it's still overpriced, but like it's a good hot dog. But I was like, oh, but so that poor lady hearing me go through all that and just
And then she gets to hear you just sobbing into your
whimpering.
shirt.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, I did in fact hear you crying, and I didn't want to make it a thing because I was also
Solid.
crying. But I think I held it together a little better.
Hmm.
Do you have more there? I don't want to cut you off.
Um.
I mean, we can bounce
Yeah.
back and forth.
Yeah. Let's bounce back and forth. As of right now, I think I am good without getting into spoilers, and yeah, I don't want to spoil any of it.
Yeah. So I did just kind of break down that like the setup is that Evelyn owns a laundromat with her husband, um, and they're preparing a birthday party for her father, as well as trying to get organized for a major tax audit. So that's like the dramatic setup, right? Is that there's just a lot going on in their personal life,
Mhm.
and then it takes a really surreal turn when, as the description said, she discovers that she may be the only person capable of saving the fate of the multiverse. And it's like, I'm a middle-aged Chinese American immigrant who owns a failing laundromat and is getting audited, and you're telling me I have to save the multiverse.
Yeah.
And and so it is a really like a bizarre story where you're like, what? But then it just manages to have a lot of heart, where it's just about a woman who's aging and realizing there's a lot of things that she wanted to do in her life that she didn't. Um,
Yep.
and so it manages to be like, yeah, here's a world where something really bizarre might have happened. There's a universe where you've got this, and it's like, it's a universe where people's mouths are on the backs of their heads. That's not a real one, but it's something bizarre like that. And
Right.
you're
Yeah.
like, but it's still at its heart just about this woman discovering who she might want to be or who she didn't get to be, and what that means to her. And the fact that it manages to do both of those things really well is just
extremely.
It's just so impressive to me that like the dumb silly stuff that they show you makes you laugh, and then you're like crying at the emotional weight of things, and it does a great job of feeling like this would not have been made 5 years ago. Like it's very, like you said, like this is a current idea,
right?
Because I mean, you figure the concept of the multiverse is just now becoming present in like the general public's minds, with like the MCU starting to introduce it in Endgame, and obviously more recently in like Spider-Verse or Spider-Man and things like that. So I think it's just, man, they really managed to put this movie together and put it out right when people are starting to, the general public is going, I think I understand a multiverse, you know?
Right.
I said the best way to go into this movie is with as little info, because there's just so many surprises within it. And it manages to make the stakes massive in scale, where it's like, you have to save the multiverse, right?
Yeah.
But then there's deeply personal stakes as well, where it's like, she's just worried about her family, or, you know, things going well at home. And it manages to make them both feel equally as important. Again, I'm trying to dance around spoilers. I'll talk about characters, I guess. So I thought, you talked about the acting. Michelle Yeoh was just insane in this movie. Like, she didn't play a crazy person, but just her skill was like, holy shit.
I definitely think she deserves an Oscar for that.
Yeah, or at least a nom. Like, I haven't seen the rest of the movies, but like nominate this woman.
Yeah.
That
woman was
And I did actually get to read before I sat down an article that the Daniels were talking about, that they wrote this movie with Michelle Yeoh in mind, and I can tell because it uses all of her skills that she's gathered through her career of like being able to sing and dance and fight and obviously act. And they managed to weave that into the story in a really natural way where, yeah, of course Michelle Yeoh is, fighting or singing or dancing because that's what the scene calls for. And I thought Stephanie Sue, who was the daughter, I had to look up and go, oh shit, yeah, she was in Shang-Chi. So she was relatively unknown to me. She was really good at playing a role that, just by the nature of a multiverse, she had to have different personalities.
Right.
And she did a very good job at it, I thought. And then obviously the one that I was like, holy hell, I'm not going to pronounce his name correctly, Ke Kwan. He was a great addition in the cast. I haven't seen him in anything outside of being Data or Short Round. And I was just surprised to see him be like a really well choreographed fanny pack fight. And then he's the comedic relief at times where, he's like, what's going on? And then he has a really powerful monologue in like towards the end of the film. That's like, oh my God, this man's making me cry.
Yeah. Hard.
And just, I think that the family dynamic there feels really genuine. And like the problems that they have and the flaws that they might have as people are understandable, or at least, justified, even if they might not be like, nice things, right? They're human, they're flawed people. And it is a simple thing, but I thought it was nice to see a film where two people that are of non-English speaking backgrounds are having a conversation amongst themselves using the native language. They speak Mandarin. And it's like, yeah, why would, two Chinese immigrants who know Chinese better than English speak in English if they're the only ones in the room?
Right.
And that actually came through really well, where some of the more emotional lines of dialogue are delivered in Mandarin with subtitles.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a testament to the delivery of the lines and the quality of the writing, that like they were really impactful, and I'm having to read them to get that impact, Yeah, I mean, just what a good job on all ends. The action is really good. Like,
they're very well choreographed.
Yeah, the martial arts is just, it takes advantage of the talents of all the cast. Like, I looked it up, and oh God, I feel bad calling him Data, but the actor that plays Wayland, or Waymond, the husband,
Mhm.
he hasn't been in a film as an actor since 2002, but he has done a ton of producing and fight choreography. So it makes sense to see him be able to do those things. Like I mentioned, it's in the trailer, that fight where he's using a fanny pack.
Mhm.
And so it does a really good job of combining like really goofy, absurd comedy in the middle of like a really high energy scene. And you're like wiggling in your seat with the fight where you're like, whoa, shit.
Yeah.
Like I specifically remember I heard Chris like exhale in disbelief at a very specific moment in a fight where you were just like, whoa, fuck. And I was like, yeah, he's having a good time over there.
Yeah, I was
Just,
getting all bricked up.
Yeah. Like I could gush about it, but I don't want to hammer on about it. I want people to have their own opinion, but
Absolutely.
like you got to go see it. It's such a good time.
It's too good not to.
And it deserves it. Like,
Oh,
Morbius made made $80 million and this made 6, and it's like, yeah, it's got to be. It's so much better and it deserves a lot more attention.
Yeah.
Do you have any more thoughts on that before we close up on that?
Yeah, so you covered everything I didn't that I would have said.
So then, of course, I've got to ask you, what you've been thinking about this week?
I actually think you meant to say, "Welcome back to Chris's Cryptid Corner." Still working on the intro.
Yeah.
But this week I will be talking about the White River Monster. So I, did a little bit of research.
This is me when I go swimming at the creek. The White River Monster. Better yet, that's me when I go skinny dipping.
Yeah, the White River Monster. But so the history behind it. Some believe that the White River Monster may have afflicted the Civil War. The river, during multiple rivers used in the Civil War were used for transportation, and the monster was supposedly responsible for overturning a boat. Sightings of the monsters began in 1915, on July 1st of that year. An owner of a plantation near the river saw the monster. He reported of having gray skin and as wide as a car.
Did you say the Civil War?
Yeah.
And then you said 1915?
Yeah, because it's saying how they think it affected the Civil War, but the first sighting was in 1915.
I'm sorry, you lost me. I was like, what?
No, sorry.
No. You're good. I think that's more my fault than yours.
But he reported of having gray skin and as wide as a car and 3 cars long. As the news spread, a rope net began, but ended due to lack of money and materials. And then
I like that they couldn't get rope together.
Yeah, they're like, cut it.
Sorry about it. Yeah. We just ain't got it in the budget.
Yeah, it's just, how much is that? It's about like three quarters.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, sorry, I just can't see my way clear on that.
But in the first week in 1937, fishermen noticed that they were finding it hard to land many fish, and the creature was spotted again, and reported to Bramlett Bateman, a nearby plantation owner who later confirmed the sighting, describing it as having the skin of an elephant, 4 or 5 feet wide by 12 feet long, with the face of a catfish.
And where was this at?
This was in Arkansas.
Arkansas. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so a little bit out there.
Yeah, I was trying to think like, oh, maybe it's a sturgeon or like a manatee, something, like. Yeah.
Huh. And then let's see. Feeling the creature was a threat to his crops, he intended to blow up the area where the creature was spotted with TNT. But area authorities denied permission. Naturally, they're like, no, you can't.
You can't just be blowing shit up.
Yeah, this guy's like, I'll fix it. Let me throw some sticks of TNT.
This here's my land. He's just throwing dynamite at a big fish.
A minor media sensation resulted in visitors across the nation, some bringing cameras, explosives, a machine gun, and when no more sightings were made, where a plan when a plan to capture it with a giant net failed. Dude, again.
I just like that's so American. There's this giant river monster, and they're like, "Let's go kill that son bitch."
let's get it.
Baby, get the machine gun.
Yeah. And then when a deep sea diver failed to find the creature, Bateman was thought to have created a hoax. Despite over 100 confirmed sightings recorded during this short period of excitement. So I mean, it's just this. It's
just this phenomenon. I'm willing to bet. I mean, it's the classic case of like, you know, the big fish, right? Where you're like, I caught a fish that was this big, and then every time you tell it, it gets bigger. You know?
Yeah.
And it's like maybe it was just a really big catfish, because catfish can get very large.
Yeah.
You know, you've seen people go noodling, and they've got a big fucking 100-pound catfish, and you know, maybe somebody saw a really big catfish, and they were like, "Oh my god, there's a river monster."
Yeah.
And it just grew out from that.
I can't get over the fact that his first instinct was, I'll blow it to hell with TNT.
Yeah. They go blow the some bitch up, and the city's like, no, you can't fucking do that.
No, yeah, you can't do that.
Like,
and then
why
people
would you do
coming
that?
in were like, oh, grab the camera. And then there's that one fucking jackass where it's like, grab my dynamite. You know, it's just like,
baby, grab my TNT. I got the machine gun. Get the kids in the car.
Yeah. How many rounds we have?
Pack us a picnic, honey. We're gonna go make a weekend. Just go kill this some bitch. Well, right on.
Hope it tastes like tilapia.
Yeah, they're people that have just a taste of the finer things.
I was gonna say, the people who would blow it up are the kind of people who goes, let's blow it up and eat it.
Yeah,
fresh with roadkill.
We gotta kill it. You just gotta pick around the pellets, you know.
Just pick around.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for your contribution there.
Of course. And if you guys ever have any suggestions for a cryptid, definitely send us an email at simplywhelmedmailbag@gmail.com.
Yes.
But what about you, Colin? What have you been thinking about?
Yeah, let's get down to the important.
The nitty gritty.
Yeah. No, the only thing I wrote down was Lego Star Wars. Like, I think we posted it to Twitter. You and I got to sit down and just play Lego Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun. We're still in episode 1 because we're old people who have day jobs. And it's just, but we had so much fun playing around and being jackasses. Just, we were like, oh my god, there's an open world portion, and we're driving the fucking land speeders. The speeder bikes.
Everything.
People and walls and just tearing shit up. I was like, we should play the song Panama by Van Halen and just do donuts, you know?
Because you get coins out of it, or you get like the little Lego studs, and I'm like, that's what I want, you know? I'm excited to customize my character. That's what I want. I want to customize
I'm excited to you just constantly getting the shitty character while I get to be the main character. And you're just like, oh, wow, that looks fun.
Yeah, that seems to be a pattern here on the show, doesn't it?
Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean. What do you We're having a great time.
You just remember who edits this show. I just cut out any sign of you disliking anything. I'm just like, yeah, we're going to cut that. By the end, it's a one-man show.
Yeah, I just cut out entirely.
Yeah, but I leave in the pauses where you speak.
Right. You just put in crickets.
Just minutes of silence. But no, we were having a really good time with Lego Star Wars. The graphics are like insane for a Lego game. I mean, we're playing it on my PS5, humble brag, and it's just, oh my god, it's so fun. We can keep saying the word fun, but it won't change the meaning. It's fun. If we felt like kids, we're sitting on the couch just like cross-legged with our blanket over our laps, like drinking soda pops at 11 o'clock at night, like, we're going to stay up all night. And then it's like 12:30 and you're like, I'm getting sleepy.
Dude, yeah, I'm such an old man when it comes to sleep. It hits, if anything past like 11:30, if it's on 12 o'clock, I got bags under my eyes and I'm just like real slow blinking and I'm just...
Yeah, you're like Cinderella. The clock's about to strike 12 and you got to get out of there.
Yeah, I'm like, I got to go lay down. It's if I've never made it past 12, so maybe one of these times I'll try to do like the beat the clock, you know?
Yeah.
Run up the stairs, hopefully I don't pass out.
Just, my God, congratulations, Christian. It's 12:05, and you're like, what?
Yeah. I'm just
But
fucking
no,
snoring.
I think we need to sit down and just keep. We've got a lot of have-tos. Like we got to watch shows, we got to play Lego, Star Wars. We got a lot on our plate, and we need to make time for it.
Yeah.
So we actually did get an email in the mailbag here. And they said,
what'd you say?
I said we got something in the mailbag here.
Oh, okay.
From someone named Mason, and they said, "Hey, what's up, my favorite podcast host, Colin? Oh, and host number 2.
Oh, well, isn't this real fucking rich? I don't want to read this.
Yeah. No. Well, good thing you're not reading it. I am. He says, was wondering if you looked into the new Harry Potter game. They dropped some gameplay, and it looks awesome. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on it. On a real note, love the podcast. Keep them going. Consistency is key, and don't give up. This is a great show. I love the content, and I can't wait to see this grow into a huge success. P.S. If host number 2 ever talks shit about Chronicle again, I am going to legally remove him from the podcast. And legally is in air quotes, so I think that was a death threat, which is good. Like, we haven't gotten any yet.
I mean, good for you.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't directed at me, so I'm fine with it.
Right,
but, so no, I mean, do you have any thoughts on the new Harry Potter game? We did watch that. It's like a 15-minute gameplay kind of display. I think it looks pretty neat. Like,
yeah, coming from someone, I've seen all the Harry Potters except for Deathly Hallows Part 2. That's the only one I haven't seen.
like,
so literally,
like that you made it all the way to the most important, and then you're like, pass.
Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't watch it, but I like them. Don't get me wrong; they're all interesting. Haven't seen any of the Fantastic Beasts, but they're not.
You're not missing anything,
right? But from what I've seen of it, it looks very interesting, and I'm very excited. I want to customize, a little me. Yeah.
I just like the
big phony mustache.
Just a fucking. I think you come in as like a 4th year, so you're like a fucking 15-year-old with just a full beard. You're like, yeah, that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
For reference, Chris has always had a beard. I think he came out of the womb just hairy.
Yeah. I when I was born, the doctors presented me, and they said, we don't know what happened, but the baby has seemed to age inside of you, ma'am.
Yeah, we don't know how to tell you this, but you've given birth to a man cub. But no,
looks like a 37-year-old man with a couple grand in debt, and he's a used car salesman.
Yeah. This baby pays taxes, man. No, so I am actually really excited for the Harry Potter game. I like that it is open world, and it's just there. It's so far disconnected. I think it's like 200 or 300 years before the movies. So it's like, okay, you've got plenty of room that like shit could have happened,
Right.
You're not like butting up against lore. So that's kind of neat that they give you that free reign, and to just. I'm not as into Harry Potter as my wife is. My wife is like, oh my fucking God, like nothing matters except for this game. Like when this game comes out, you could just fuck off. I wouldn't even need you. And I'm like, that's good, baby. But
I love you too.
Yeah, preach. So she's very excited. Then I was trying to get her opinion on it, and I'm making sure that she's not just biased, that she's like, oh, it's got the Harry Potter brand on it, so it's going to be gold. And she's not. She had good reasoning where she said, I like the idea that you're going to get to be a what do you call it, a student at the school and kind of get a day in the life, but in classic Harry Potter fashion. It's not your normal school year. Something has to go crazy. And she was able to talk about some of the lore where she's talking about they showed off the room of requirement, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a room that can be whatever you need it to be. And they kind of worked that into the gameplay where it's, they justify its existence and it adds to the gameplay loop where, this is going to kind of be your headquarters where anything you need is in that room, which makes sense because that's what the whole deal is of that room.
Right.
And the combat looks interesting of you being able to learn spells and potion crafting and things like that. But no, I mean, it looks pretty good. I'm excited at the idea of just being able to travel all around that world. And yeah, I'd be interested to see how it does from like, I think obviously, like you said, you're not as into Harry Potter. I think if it's a scale, you're the least interested in Harry Potter, and then I'm the Harry Potter.
And you're the what?
I'm the middle, and then Morgan is just Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And so I think, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the three of us end up feeling about it once it's out and in our hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any more thoughts on that?
Oh, excuse me.
Fuck, I'm sorry. Are we keeping you up? Are we boring?
No, it's 9 o'clock. I just Young Thug's getting a little sleepy. Listen, I'm on a strict schedule, man.
We're getting close to the witching hour.
Yeah, I'm all tired. No, that definitely covers it. I am excited for it. I definitely look forward to playing it. My only thing with it is I hope that, like, I'm not sure if demos or like betas are going to be a thing with this, but I hope there's something along those lines, just to maybe test it out before I fully commit to it.
Right. Yeah. Get a little hands on. Well, either way, I'll play it, so you can come over and
a little taste of the glory. See what it tastes like.
Just
a nacho.
Yeah. No, I'll have it like release day, so you'll be able to come over and give it a little taste.
Don't you want to taste of the glory? See what it tastes like.
Just this becomes the podcast. We just read the script for Nacho Libre. Except we trade off scene to scene. Which one of us plays Nacho?
I believe it's science.
We want to thank you guys just so much for your attention and support. I know that sounds sarcastic, but I do mean it. If you guys enjoyed this episode, be sure to give it a really good review. Tell your friends about it. Word of mouth is just huge. Just tell everybody. Scream it on the sidewalk to just strangers.
That's what I do.
Yeah. I just scream in public. Anything. So Chris, if people wanted to get in touch with us to give us feedback or send us death threats, talk shit about you, ask us questions, how would they do that?
Yeah, of course. If you want to do any of those things, you can get a hold of us on Twitter at whelmed_simply. You can get us on Instagram at Simply Whelmed Podcast. And then our email is, of course, that's simplywhelmedmailbag@gmail.com.
Yes. So next week, we're thinking that we might do a little bit of a dive in on Barry, because it's starting up not too long from now. And we've got less of that to catch up on than we do Better Call Saul. Disclosure there.
Yes.
So we're going to try and wrap up our viewing of Barry and then run down on where it ends off at season 2. And just our thoughts on the show as a whole. Maybe we'll watch the trailer for season 3 before we get to recording, and we can talk about what we think might be coming up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we're just get a little bit of dive in on TV. And so, yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll see you guys later. Bye.